I'll let you know when it is live.
It's live. It's live, Manoj. I can see a notification.
Yeah.
Sandhya, can you see it now?
Yes, it was a minute ago. I saw the
Yes, I can see.
notification.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are ready to start. It is live on both the Bangalore Schools group as well as in the Bangalore Schools page. We are expecting some more people who might join in the Zoom. Otherwise, we still have it live running on both the platforms. Thank you so much for coming in today, and welcome to the first edition of the Principals Talk. This is a event that is conceptualized by the Bangalore Schools group as well as the BSEI, the Bengaluru Schools Education Initiatives. The whole idea is to kind of bring in educators, head of schools, as part of a panel discussion wherein we can discuss um, contemporary issues, realistic topics on education and schooling as we face, get your perspectives, how your institution is handling it, and also give you an opportunity to discuss a little more in depth about you, the organization, the institution, which will give us a larger perspective of you as well as the organization. Today, the session is being moderated by our co-admin, Sandhya Vishwan, who also happens to be the director of Bangalore Schools Education Initiatives. But before that, let me thank both Mr. Venkat Suresh Lola and Chetna Kenny for two things. One, being part of this event, and secondly, for being part of Bangalore Schools as a community and being part of the initiatives that we have taken, including the Bangalore Schools Expo. Mr. Venkat was our co-sponsor for the event, and Chetna was there as an event sponsor. So thank you for the confidence, and thank you for being part of the larger initiative that we are trying to take. Over to the moderator. Sandhya Vishwan has been part of Bangalore Schools for quite a long time. She's an educator with more than 20 plus years of experience herself. She's a homeschooling parent and the person who's a go-to expert in homeschooling. Comes with a very innovative thought in terms of how education and schooling should be done. Both her kids have been either homeschooled or unschooled. She has been the director of Mudpai Education, which ran preschools in Bangalore, and also been part of the Bangalore Schools education initiatives as well as the Bangalore Schools group, a driving force behind the events that we are organizing, the contests that we have conducted, including the very acclaimed Educator Speak and the Social Impact Project. These were all brainchilds of Sandhya Vishwan. So without further ado, over to you, Sandhya Vishwan, to introduce the panelists and take the discussion forward.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. We have two panelists with us today to discuss the topic, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Venkat Suresh Lola first. Mr. Venkata is currently the head of school at Valistus International. He has many years of experience in the field of education, including over a decade of strategic and senior management experience with a strong foundation in international and Indian boards, both in India and the UAE. He's also been associated with organizations such as Global City International School, Bengaluru, Ambassador School, Dubai, Oak Ridge International School, Hyderabad, and the International School, Hyderabad. Having pursued various leadership and education-based courses across the globe, the Ural State Pedagogical University, Russia, has recently honored him with a certificate of appreciation for effective cooperation and constructing a friendly relationship at the international level. The Bangalore Schools Group welcomes you to the first in the series of principal talks, and we look forward to hearing about your insights in the field of education and your plans for Valistus International School. Welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Chetna Kenny. Chetna Kenny has over a decade experience in the field of education as the founder of the Chetna Kenny Institute of Remedial Education and Orinco Academy. Ms. Kenny has conceptualized Orinco as a community of parents, teachers, and students who share the same philosophy of holistic thinking and education. Ms. Kenny's other areas of interest include homeschooling, alternative education, adolescent counseling, and parenting. welcome Chetana to the principal talk, and we would like to hear more about Orinco Academy and its various programs that you conduct. Welcome, Chetana. Okay, so to start off, I'd like to ask Mr. Venkat, being a new school, Valistus International just started this year along with the pandemic that came across. So before we talk about the main topic, that is online education, could you first tell us about the school's approach? Because I've heard how it is very different, that it has been thought out. Can you just tell us what Valistus International has thought about providing as a different form of education? Could you just give us a gist on that, please?
Thank you, Sandhyaman, for that introduction. Thank you so much. See, basically, Valistus, the word Valistus in Finnish means enlightenment. Now, so we actually worked on this project for several years prior to the start. And we were actually looking for a very, very different approach of schooling in India. Because we as a group of schools, basically this organization is being founded by the trust, which is running Chalsan Education Trust, which is actually running the Whitefield Global School and Whitefield PU College, and then they have Global Toddlers, 3 other organizations. Over a decade, they have been running it. So when they wanted to come into the international forum, of course, having a school which would deliver only international curriculum. So we wanted to bring in an approach which would transform every individual. Now, how do we transform a child, right? So will it happen on its own or with the help of an environment or with the help of people? Yeah, there are several factors that influence this. So we sought inspiration from many methodologies all across the world. One of the Finnish ideology captured our attention on small group learning model. So this is a school which would of course never have thousands of students because it's a small group community. So it will have few hundreds in few years of time. So the group size of the class is quite small that way. So we have actually created this project in such a way that every single element in the organization becomes a learning space. So of course, when we sit and learn, teach different subjects, of course, you need different environments, you need different approach, as per the needs of every single child. So I can proudly say this is one of those few initial first projects in the country which has the approach of a biophilic model where nature has its prominence. We are in the heart of Whitefield. It's a 6-acre campus. 80% of the campus is green. Now it's only 20% you would find a building and then, the open classrooms all around. So children can study in nature, outside, indoors. So we don't have a concept of a classroom, right? So of course, kids do move in different zones to learn different subjects, through different methods. So we wanted to be a school of difference. And I think thanks to Corona, in a way, it has pushed us to a situation of even more innovation, right? To come up with the different approaches. So that's the whole, idea in a nutshell, if I have to tell you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So because even I had heard about Valistus, the environments, the learning space being spread across open areas, and it would be used differently. So as a new school, and also since the pandemic, how were you able to manage the online session? Because if it was offline and a proper school, the spaces would have been used. So coming to the actual topic of this, how did you adapt to that? I know it is going to be a temporary thing and you will probably go forward and do what was initially planned. But at this point, that it is a new school as well as that the spaces cannot be used, how did you all adapt as well as this?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. Thank you. See, basically, we were way much ahead in terms of our planning of our staff because we had our staff on board right in Jan of 2020, right? Pandemic started only in March, right? And then, so of course, we have staff with average international school experience about 15 years. So you can imagine, so we have all very experienced people, who have been teaching about a decade or more, I mean, so then they know what is expected, if they were to teach a curriculum, with innovation, right, as its core aspect. So initially, of course, we had some disappointment that we were not able to use these spaces, for which we created all. So what we did is initially we did a lot of brainstorming, almost I would say for about 2 weeks, as a team to come up with an action plan for people to function, because the minute we heard that there is a second lockdown, so that means we expected, okay, this is going to continue for a while, so let's be prepared that the whole year we are doing online. Maybe I think we are the first among those schools which thought in April that entire 2021 we are going to do it online. I mean, it was too early, I mean, but still we felt. So then we approached our parents, and then we did a survey, a very comprehensive survey, to ask them whether they would be interested if we do it online with different methodologies. And of course, like I said earlier, we are blessed. We are a small group community, right? I mean, so there is so much of attention that can be given to kids. So what we did is initially we tried doing, sending them some hands-on projects initially to check whether kids would be interested, with an offline mode a week. Then we did an online mode. So we experimented quite a lot of things in May, right? Just to see whether, kids would like a certain specific approach. So then we came up with an approach which is, a framework which is very dynamic. So we change our, teaching learning approaches every 45 days. Right. So, I mean, so it's not going to be the same throughout the year. So children don't find it boring, I mean, because if we are doing online lessons in the same way all the time, you can imagine kids get fed up, I mean, it's so difficult. Even us adults, I've been teaching for now 21 years. And then I found, it to be little challenging initially because I was not able to do everything that I wanted to do. So we found out different approaches, and then I'll tell you one interesting thing, when we asked children whether they would like more softwares, to help them, our kids asked us, please teach us like how you do in normal schools, talk to us, because they wanted somebody to talk to them, I mean, it's very strange. Just observe this, kids wanted more of that, personal rapport, and connect. So we are doing a very blended approach program right now. And, our learning is quite interesting. Like, for example, if we do science, we do a lot of projects, we integrate science with coding, right? We do math trails, I mean, we can do quite a lot of things online. We could innovate a lot in between. We as a team came up with different approaches from time to time. And mostly our approach is project-based and problem-based approaches. So here the child is the core of the learning. So of course they would find it very interesting. So we are able to do it very successfully so far, including the early years, which, when I heard it from few of my friends that it has been challenging, but our early years learning has been very, very effective. We are following all the norms laid down by the government. And but still, I mean, it's really interesting. I think when a teacher gets that connect with the child, right, and when we are able to do what is required for them as per their learning styles, I think it's easy. We will be able to accomplish.
Thank you, Mr. Lola. So I find it interesting that you accepted that it was a bit of a disappointment and a challenge in the beginning, and that you all experimented and tried to work out on this particular group of children that you have, and that you are also revisiting it every 2 weeks or so, which is absolutely, as an educator, I do think it's a good approach. And since you all have been able to implement it, a very important skill of adaptation is working with the teachers and the adults involved in the whole system, including the children, and that you are listening to the children. So based on also what you just said about the early years, I would like to ask Chetana, because I know for a fact that Orinco was earlier from grade 1 all the way up to 12, and early years, the pre-primary is comparatively a new addition to Orinco. And also that Orinco has a very individualized approach to each student, just like Mr. Lola was telling us. So how did you, Chetana, be able to do the pre-primary years online?
See, with Orinco, the thing is it's a community, it's a learning ecosystem, and everybody steps in whenever we require anything to go further. Orinco was prepared to go online 6 years ago. We had the entire system ready. We had a learning management system. We had teacher training, everything done 6 years ago. The world was not yet ready. So we were waiting. I think when the pandemic happened, it took us March to think about it a bit and to ensure that our teachers and everybody is in line. Early years or high school for us is the same continuum because everybody has a similar learning structure. So everyone spends more time outdoors, more time on skill-based development, and very less, 30% of time on academics. So, and we are a community, we are a learning ecosystem, no walls and such kind of things. So for us, it took the same approach, whether it was preschool or grade 12. And that approach was, first of all, to see how much we can include parents because they were our other half, right? The co-parenting, what Orinco has been having as a core philosophy, this year that was tested and also implemented to be its best. So we first trained our parents to understand the learning management system, to execute it, to help children also, to understand how are we going to do this because they were also in a difficult stage. Suddenly they are at home, they have so much to manage and they have children and there were no maids and nothing that could aid in somebody bringing in something new into their life. So I think May went in doing something like that, and we realized that our children, in any case, even in school, we do not make the preschool children sit more than 8 to 10 minutes. That is what we like to do, and we are always helping them to play. And in that play, we draw them here and there to do certain things. So they think that they're playing, and we have to continue that even if it is online, that you're interacting, that you're learning something new, that you're creating, and then you are also learning something. So we started a parent training program every Saturday. We trained them, and we used to explain the whole week what we are going to do, how we are going to do, what are the resources required. All of that would be spoken about. I also used to speak to them about why they're doing that particular activity and what our intention is. So just in case anybody misses or parents decide to do it themselves or whatever it is, everyone is doing the right thing in the right direction with the right intention, right? So that is what was done, and of course we had to follow the government guidelines. So we do have, like 2 interactions in the day, and all of them are geared towards collaborative learning about discovery, storytelling, and everything that they had in school. So there was not a major difference as such. Our parents say that we are 90% what we do offline is what we're doing online, and the quality also stays. The only thing that the children are missing are our carpentry workshops and toy workshops. They're not missing anything else.
Okay, the active. So just just to try and clarify, because this is a question that most parents will ask, especially with little children. As you're aware, a lot of their learning, like you said, is through play, and also sensory is how they learn a lot more. I'm not even talking about academics because I know that that's not even the main thing. There, the basics of academics is set with these skill sets. Now, how, and that also brings me to the observation part, which is where we usually come into the picture as educators. Now, I know you said you were training the parents, but how do you equip them to observe the right things and kind of channelize? I know many parents would be looking at this because that's a challenge that the parents will face when they are working together. I understand that Orinco also puts across that it is a community with the parents. You are co-parenting as well as co-schooling together. But again, are the parents readily equipped because their mindset is such when they come into Aurinco, or did you have to really work on that aspect as well?
Whether people are in Aurinco, not in Aurinco, wherever, parents have their own set of challenges. And I also would have been in that set of challenge if I had a child in this point of time, with my schedule, with everything going. And whether it is schooling or any other organization also, when there is a change and when adaptation has to happen, we will have to bring the community in. We have to respect that evolution that will happen in this. Everybody will not come in at the same time. So that hand holding was happening. In fact, we ourselves needed hand holding. As a school, we also needed hand holding. So we had a few parents who were techy enough to come and also help us in certain things, because teacher training, parent training at such huge scale, even though we have only 150 children, it still is a huge scale for us. It needed many people to be involved in that. So they held our hands, we held their hand, and we were respectful of the journeys that we were going to have. And I think only around August, September is when everybody set in into the whole system. Initially, we had parents saying, we are, just give us the modules, we'll try and do at home, because we are not able to log in when we have to log in a child because we are busy at that time. Then we had parents who could not sit with the child. Then we had parents who could not understand the learning management system for some time because it takes time, and this is an inbuilt. Even then, it was difficult. So all this took time, and we had to respect that journey. We could not push everybody, we could not pull everybody, we had to handhold and we had to go. Buddy systems were formed, families got together. Many of these things had to be done. We had people who complained, we had people who had a question, who were questioning this whole thing. Like, Aurinco is all about, child-led, child-centric, alternate approach, which for many people means we are against mainstream, which we are not. We are not compromising on anything, but our methods are different and our learning outcomes are different. And the very reason why we exist is different, but that's not what everybody understands. So then questioning the philosophy also happened quite a bit as to how can you go online? Like, you were so media averse and now you're online. So that entire understanding as to screen time being different than media usage, that took some time for people. So for me, I am somebody who desires harmony. So for me, it's always been, I respect you, your journey, and I'm here with you. So standing by them, I think now in the last 1 or 2 months, everybody has figured out that we did a very good job actually. So there is a lot of happiness, there is contentment. In fact, all the parents have said, even if this takes till March, we're okay with this because this is running fantastically fine. I think the only difference is if we can start bringing children to school once a week or something to use the playground and the workshops, if that is when that is allowed by government, would be enough. So that is something that was a very beautiful evolution that we all had. Like I said, we were prepared 6 years ago, but we were not really able to uh, enable that because no one was ready. Neither the parents, nor the teachers, nor the world was ready. But today, what has happened is the whole Aurinco K-12 is now online school with FABS. So the sister concern of Aurinco came about simply because of this. And we are having many people admit their children next year who are scared of the pandemic. And as you know, all homeschoolers would love something like that. So I think it happened for the best, for them, for us, for everybody. With children, I saw a huge transformation, an amazing transformation from grade 1 to 12. Very high levels of engagement because you are there is something about online which kind of makes it very, very, very personalized, as well as not being personalized, right? The fear is like, how do you do it? But then actually something happens. You're like glued in, and you have when your teacher is talking to you, she's only talking to you, right? And you are working and you don't have any distractions, and you're functioning in a certain way. Children learn how to use the online management system. They also learn how they can schedule themselves, how they can manage their own time, how they can be prepared for the next day. Because earlier days, it's okay to come to school without something, right? You can share and all that. Where will you share now? You don't have anything to share. So I found all these things. I also saw a very beautiful thing that happened is, in every class, there's this one child that is not liked by some, or that cannot assert themselves, or is bullied, or something, right? Or maybe there's a child that's slow in learning, but good in other things, but you know how judgmental children also can get. And I realized in online, these differences went away. Something happened because of which everyone learned to be tolerant, because here you have to mute yourself. Unless the other person finishes speaking, you can't speak, you can't yell in classes, you can't put the other person down. So for me, if you ask, I feel this year was very required to put all of us in perspective, right? And help all of us see what else can be done, what more can be done, how can we transform ourselves, how can we erase all the old prejudice and preconceived notions and our way of living and all of that, and have a very new thing, like how the snake sheds its skin and then you're shiny all over again. I think that's what has happened, and I'm very excited. I'm so thankful to the pandemic.
I'd actually like to know more on how you got them to that stage, because
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges that many people are saying, where online is not working for them, because even the adults are able to see the, what you say is the judgmental and the bullying. It happens online as well. And some children are not very comfortable with the focus being on a one-to-one. So
Yeah.
I'd come back to you on that, because I'd like to know how Orinco
Yeah.
did it,
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's a challenge that many educators as well as parents have been.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you must have seen the group. This has been coming up quite a bit. I would also now like to talk to Mr. Venkat. In any system, any community of an education system, the teachers are the main backbone. You can have a vision, you can have everything, but then the implementation is on the teachers, on that team that is built there. And I had the good fortune to read many of the papers that came from Ballistas. We had quite a few entries for the educators speak at the expo, and they were really good. And in fact, the first prize went to one of the teachers at Ballistas. And I was quite impressed by the thoughts that came about, because it was evident that it is a thinking individual. I'd like to know more about the team, and how do you pick out these? It's not easy, especially with in a school that is not only solely content driven. It is difficult to find the right people. It's not even just one person. It's a whole team of people who will work together to bring that vision, and it needs a totally different thought process. And I'm sure even there would be a lot of undoing from their previous experiences. I'd like to know more about your team, Mr. Venkat. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That was a very good question, and I wanted somebody to talk about this today. I mean, even whether to me or to ma'am. So the thing is, of course, I totally agree with you. I would say I would agree with you on 200% level, not 100% level. See, we might create any kind of physical setups, right? But without the driving force there, the teacher, you can't achieve or accomplish anything, right? Because the teacher does the whole thing. Now, there are two aspects that we normally see in a teacher, right? I mean, of course, in India, we call teacher as a guru, right? Two most important qualities which a guru needs to have. One, creativity, right? Because this is the individual who is transforming people to a next level, right? You get a child to you, and then you need to transform this child to be a futuristic, wonderful person, right? With great qualities. I mean, it's not about accomplishing some numbers on a report card or getting to an university, but we need to prepare these kids as happy individuals to live in the future communities, right? We need to equip them with all the skills. So creativity is one very important thing that we see in any person who's coming in. The second thing is we want people to be reflecting people all the time, because it's very important. I mean, gone are those days where we say that whatever I'm doing is right, right? Definitely when the community, when the whole world is changing from time to time, we need to constantly reflect and see how do we improve ourselves to meet the needs. So it's very important, these two things. So we have a very rigorous, 5-stage process of selecting teachers. Now, the first word that I heard through some of the known people in Whitefield area is it's difficult to get a job in Ballistus. I was happy to hear that because, see, the thing is, that means our process is very rigorous. It is talking about it. So for the first requirement that we look for any teacher is these two skills that I talked about. And then we would want people who are carrying out experience, because we are bringing an organization with a new approach, right? And then this would definitely need a lot of people who already know the basics, right? And of course, like you said, there will be some unlearning, some relearning. That has to happen in every organization, irrespective of our school, right? So we looked at that aspect, and then we, of course, I always believe in, working, from a level of teacher. See, because in my organization, I do teach 4 courses. I'm a teacher first, right? A principal next. I don't want to be called as a principal. I would be happy to be called as a teacher. And I'm doing it 2 decades. So I'm right on ground, and then I'm managing things. I'm working with kids on my own. So I have that first-hand experience of seeing how things move in, right? So, of course, through my contacts, through our organization being quite popular, managing 3 other organizations. So we had a lot of people applying us. And another interesting thing, of course, this is our luck also. We are in the heart of Whitefield, and not many teachers would want to travel very far on the other side of the city to work in other international schools. So I was very lucky for that also, to be very honest with you. I mean, these are some factors, because since we are in the heart of the city, and then people could easily travel. So that also helped. What we do is we do about 150 hours of training every year, right? This is mandated for every single individual, right? So this is very, very rigorous, and we have this training under different categories. We have health and safety training, domain-based training, the subjects whichever we teach, and then methodology-based training. So there are so many aspects of trainings that we offer to our own people. That's one thing. And on top of all this, we are blessed with the 2 advisors for our organization currently. One is Dame Naila Zafar. So Dame Naila has a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II. She was working on the UK national framework earlier, because since we are doing the British early years in the school, so we had Dame Naila to support us, and she has been in education for about 40 years. And our other advisor is Dr. Sumer Singh. He was heading Delhi College, and then he has actually advised a lot of organizations in the North India and even in Bangalore also. So altogether, these advisors' experience, our experience put up together is about 100 years, of education, So I think everything worked together very, very well with management experience, advisors, myself, and my own team. My team is definitely that way. Does a brilliant job, I should say. They're all very, very dedicated. I would say, I think this is one real noble profession. Of course, every profession has, you'll have good, bad everywhere. Of course, there will be a minimal percentage, maybe 5%, 4%, whatever bad, even as teachers. But then I would say, thanks to Almighty, teachers have changed this world all the time, be it our school or be it any school. We all need to really appreciate them and commend them, at this occasion.
Yes, thank you. So I do see you have a good team, and you also have a good team of leaders also who are guiding and being able to train this. I see that you're not seeing yourself as leaders, but part of the team and working together with them. Chaitana, on that note, again, I come back to you on your set of teachers, because your approach as it is a community based. So there's a lot of decisions that are together with parents as well as educators. And this particular challenge that we were talking about earlier about the online, how are the teachers being equipped to, and maybe you could also talk about your team of teachers and how they are. Of course, I have met them, at least when all of them were newly recruited at one time, a whole bunch of them, I have met them myself. So I know the vibes that come there at Aurinco. But how do you work on this aspect? Because this is a new adaptation. You were ready for it, but these teachers are also pretty new when they came into the online mode. So if you could just throw some light on that, because this is a challenge that I have heard from other people. You just said that it's working beautifully because of that one-to-one interaction. However, maybe you could give tips for other places where there's this challenge that is happening.
Sure, sure. So Aurinco always has, we don't recruit people, right? We take them into our fold. Anyone and everybody who wants to be part of Aurinco in any format is always welcome, even as observers, as learners, as teachers, as whatever you would work. There are so many ways in which people can come. So a teacher always becomes a teacher after coming to Aurinco. She doesn't enter as a teacher. She enters as an individual that is looking for change, that is looking for being the change, that is looking for contributing to the society, and that is that person we always see, are they interested in the well-being of children to make a difference in the future of our nation. That is very important for me, because I am trying to raise agents of social change. That is the aim of Aurinco. And if these human beings who are going to work with them do not have that same intention to nurture them and handhold them onto that path, then it doesn't make any sense, right? So it's very important in Aurinco for children, for parents and teachers to be in love with the child and not the curriculum, right? It's not those aspects which are important. That will anyway happen. There's nothing great in that you can teach anyone at any age. So that there's nothing great in that, but it's in the way of living, it's in the way that we raise a child and his overall growth that is more important, right? So that has always been the culture at Aurinco. So anybody and everybody who comes is always ready to do anything it takes to make the child's life easy and learner friendly. And that is why even this year, for some reason, okay, we had like 60% people new. Not that the earlier ones left. We had some, maternity leaves and all of these things. And so we were in a transition phase and we were growing also. So we expected to grow. So we had taken, and all the new people who were supposed to be with the earlier people all became teachers. So but I don't know. I think it's because of the fact that they all came raring to make this change and do anything that it takes. They just changed. Even teachers, even people who are like in their 50s, 60s working with us learned Moodle. I had one teacher come here in my home, my doorstep, and say to my husband, my co-founder who's in charge of this whole thing, I've come here, this is my laptop, teach me now. I'll stay here if it's needed. It's amazing to see these transformations. And I think it all comes from the fact that I want to be that change. I want to make this happen. So we are blessed that way right from beginning to have people who want to work with us, who want to share my vision, right? And we have always been different. Even when we started 10 years back, it was like, what are you trying to do? So even today, we are like the same thing, right? And we're always like jumping in leaps and bounds in terms of being progressive. So I think that was a good transition. The admin team offered themselves and said, now we don't have an office to work with. Our work can be completed any time of the day. We are here to do. And the admin staff of Aurinco became admins for all the teachers. They managed attendance, they managed anything and everything. They became assistants to the teachers. So teachers had to focus on lesson planning, making lessons on the learning management system, because we have a particular way. We do not have a chalk and talk approach. We do not take some information and download into the child's mind. We have to collaborate and we have to co-construct the curriculum. That cannot change, right? So the teachers only focused on that. And I remember in April is the first and last time that I spoke to the teachers. I told them, I'm putting you forth in front of the parents and the children on this new system. Make as many mistakes as you may make, Don't worry about it. I am there to face everything, all of that. I will not tell you what to do, how to do, or whatever it is, because we all are new to this. But any complaint that comes from parents for anything, I will take that. And that's the only thing I've done from April to now. I haven't trained them, I haven't prepared them, I haven't given them any lecture of any sort, nothing. I actually haven't met them. It's the coordinators that are taken care, but the teachers, of course, since we are a family, their family things and all of that, they chit chat with me and all that. But regarding work, I haven't spoken a single word. So that has been, I think, a help for them, because they were left by themselves. They could take their own decisions. They made their own changes. They learned PowerPoint to make certain things. They learned voiceovers. They learned so many things. And Anup has been a savior, because he's very, very, very ahead in times in terms of technology. Being the co-founder and being somebody who's interested in something like this, in bringing forth education that was accessible to everybody. For him, he was flying from April, because his dream has come true. So I think he was accessible to all the teachers, and they could call him anytime, take training the way they wanted. The parents in Orinco have always been the torchbearers of our philosophy. Uh, and along with me. So the parents and the founders, we always have this thing that we both are the ones that can uphold this philosophy. Teachers will come and go. It's not that we don't care for them. What I mean by come and go is that transitions will happen. When they come in, it will take time. They'll settle down and whatever. When we see that the philosophy is not being, not being implemented the way we want to, we'll raise a flag, and we'll be open to that feedback. We will constructively work on it, and we will work together. So teachers are also, they aren't scared. If anything comes from parents in Orinco, the teachers are chilled about it, because you're not going to lose your job or be humiliated for it. You're only going to get better. So the culture of Orinco has been there from 10 years, and that also helped in this journey, and it has been the same. So transition of this year, other than learning technology, hasn't been much for us.
So what I'm hearing is there's a lot of support as a community for each other to learn and grow together, right? I would also now move from this topic to something to Mr. Venkat. This is a very hot thing that's a topic that is raised in our forum many a times. Okay, it does stem from what Chaitanya just said. Inclusiveness is always spoken about, and this is obviously about learning difficulties with different challenges. I also remember that the teacher who won the Educator Speak is a special educator at Ballistus. If you could just throw some light on how Ballistus is looking at the approach of special needs or learning difficulties, and do you have a team for it, or how are you working on that at Ballistus? Sir, you're muted, sir.
Thank you. I think I'm too much disciplining myself to listen to the other speakers. Now, see, yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, I would like to add little more to that question. I mean, are the people, with difficulties increasing year on year, trying to seek admissions in schools? Yeah, I should say it has increased quite a lot. This is almost my 12th year as a school leader, and it is increasing year on year. Now, one thing what I have noticed is, in general, when we look at Indian schools, I'm talking generally, right? I'm not specifically pointing out to anybody. The awareness is quite little. I would say we have very few experts in the country. Awareness is very little. And then if we were to ask somebody, teaching, a child coming from a school with special needs support, the first basic question that I would ask is, can you give us a copy of the IEP or the IAP which the previous school did? Now, you won't believe 90% of the time the answer is no, we don't have. We don't know what is IEP. We don't know what is IAP. Now, individual education plan, individual action plan has to be done now. So these are very, very essential things. Now, see, at Valistas, what we do is we keep a track of every single communic that we do with children who have difficulties, right? Because see, I myself, I taught quite a lot of them during my career, and then I see most of them to be very, very successful today. Big timers in the community, right? So we as Valistas, we are very much open, for inclusive schooling. Like you said, our teacher who's a special educator who won the award also recently. Of course, we are now planning to slightly extend our team next year. Now, initially, what we are trying to do is, depending on the resources that we have, we are going to give those many number of admissions, because see, again, it is very important that you do 100% justice to every single child who comes into you, right? So definitely, as an organization, we are very, very open, and we want to be called as an inclusive school. It is one of the most essential aspects for any international school, number one. Number two, the curriculum that we are delivering at our school also supports inclusivity in many ways, be it selection of subjects, be it the range of level of standards that they can do. They can do higher level, standard level, there are umpty number of choices, even to take exams, assessments also. When children grow up, they can do it in different series, November, March, May. There is a lot of options for children that's available. I think we shouldn't unnecessarily panic that a child has a difficulty, but then the best thing that what we expect from a parent is to tell us what's the difficulty of the child, right? See, again, every child, when we nurture them properly, they would cope up, they would grow definitely like a butterfly, right? It's just a matter of time, it's just a phase, right? And I think this is the time where we would need to, support them, understand basically what's the challenge is. And also, at this forum, I would like to mention one very important observation to parents also, who take these kids to doctors who are giving them reviews. Now, majority of the times I find that parents do not read the reports which the doctors give. See, this is my sixth year in Bangalore as a school principal. I have read many reports which come to me with contradictions. You'll have some statements in the first two pages, and the last page would say something else. Now, so this puts us even into a bigger confusion. That's why I said the resources in India are very less. And I think this is high time that all of us as educators need to come together to put forth all our resources and share. So then we will all form like a very strong forum, to give and take, right? Definitely every school will have its own kids, will have its own number of parents who believe in the ideology. I'm so glad today I'm sitting here with Dr. Chetna. She came up with such nice, interesting ideology, which I didn't knew earlier. That's in Bangalore, right? So see, there are so many different ideologies. Now, there are so many different experts all over. Now, why can't we all come together and then, meet up couple of times during the year and keep sharing resources, because that's very, very important. I think that's what is missing in this country, because each school on its own is a good school here. Now, then why can't everybody be good, right? Why can't everybody, share these practices? So that's why, see, I think we shouldn't be inclusive just for accepting kids. I would say be inclusive to share your resources, to share your knowledge with everybody, so that we are able to handle this big challenge, right? Like I'm saying this once again. Now, for the next year, depending on how the trend is going to be online, offline, depending on my capacity of my team, I'm going to accept few children, and then we'll work with them. Definitely, end of the day, we need to, support them. They need a good place to come in. And I have seen, when I'm talking this, I just remember one of my student who had difficulties, whom I taught in grade 9 to 12, 4 years I taught him. And today he is in the special clue searching department. I mean, like when there is an incident happening, crime scene. So he's there as an officer to do it. He's in Mumbai now. So see again now, there are so many successful kids, when you help them, when you guide them, when you support them. So we come up with this ideology to help as many as we can. And fortunately, one of our advisor, Dame Naila, she is the lead inspector for Ofsted. This is the school accreditation rating that would happen all over the UK. And basically, Naila's specialization is the children with difficulties. So that's the areas that she reviews in the schools, and then, unfortunately, I also had the experience of teaching these kids. I know, I mean, what challenges parents would face, and I know what challenges schools will face. But I think we can minimize all these by all of us coming together. And I'm very much open, and I would love to collaborate with anybody on this subject. And I think we all should work together on this aspect.
That's a lovely point that you have raised, Mr. Venkat, on collaboration among the schools. And I do think Bangalore is ready for it. Yes, we do have our challenges, but compared to the rest of the country, I do see a lot of changes that are happening in Bangalore. And I'm not even saying it's at a small pace, it is at a fast pace, yet we still have a long way to go, I would say that. Your thoughts, Chetana, on the collaboration bit, because it is schools like yours that can make this change. Not the larger established ones would not even want to be. As a change maker yourself, how do you think that we can work on that aspect?
So we've been doing this from 10 years now, and I think all schools should open up their doors, whether it is to parents or anybody for that matter. First is the parents. When we have everything open and transparent to parents, that's where it starts. And having done that, I'm telling you that the kind of collaboration that you get from within your family, within your school's family itself, will just broaden your horizons like anything. Thereafter, open your doors to people who'd like to learn from your system. And that can be any random person, need not be teachers, need not be school owners or whatever it is. Because they will come take a part of your life and spread it somewhere else, even if it's to their own homes. The other aspect is open your doors to other schools. There is nothing that can be copied from one school and put into other. There can only be an inspiration which will still be in their own light, right? If I take something from Ballistus, it will still be what is specific to the way I would do things. It would have my flair. I would never be able to copy what they're doing, right? Same way, I think we should, I think, no, I have opened my school to several principals across the country, across the world. We have from Turkey, Afghanistan, so many places we have principals come and spend time. And they all have taken back something in return. The other thing to open our doors is to organizations that are working in the area of teacher development or teacher training. All these people, they should bring in their interns and send them to our spaces so that they can learn something that is only spoken about in forums. We are speaking that it should be child-led, child-centric. We are speaking about philosophies, but in existence, in reality, how does it look like? And what are the challenges is something that people can see and say, okay, it's doable. I can also do this, right? So that is another way of opening up. And then schools here itself. As you're aware, alternate schools, we are already on a forum. We already meet and talk. And I think we all have the comfort that we can pick our calls. Mainstream schools, yeah, if they're open enough and don't look at each other as some sort of competition, something that can be copied or something, I think everybody will be open. So these are the kinds. Children also, they should be on an exchange to various schools. We have done it, and I'm telling you, the kind of learning that happens in children and the kind of they get more ingrained in your system actually because now they can appreciate it better. You're not going to lose children because you're exchanging children. You're going to have them more for yourself. So I think this whole we have to detach ourselves from the business motive to the actual why do we exist here motive. And there is a balance, of course, and I think you can have that. If your program is good, nobody is going to leave you. So I think being open, becoming transparent, and enveloping people in your fold is the way to go.
I actually like that point that you said about opening doors, not just to other educational institutes, but to other organizations and industries and interns, which builds the larger community. I mean, I think that's a brilliant thought that you put across. And I would like to come back to the question that I actually started with Mr. Venkat to you, because you have been a special educator and you started off there. How does inclusiveness work at Orinco? And just quickly, because we are also running out of time, I have only 5 minutes
See,
before that. If Chetna, since you are the expert.
It's not about at Orinco. I think at any school, we have to understand the fact that every school is capable of certain things, right? It can be the infrastructure, it can be the teachers, it can be the classroom size, it can be the physical infrastructure of the school. In various ways, every school has a permutation combination that can work towards a certain area of special needs. As parents, we need to understand, forget about schools, forget about everybody else. Just look at your child. Child is at point A, needs to get at point B at any point of time. Child has certain skills, has to work on certain skills. For that skill, whomever you can get, go there. It is not about I want to go to this school or that school or whichever school. These skills, if they can be met in school, go there. If they can be met in a special educator's place, go there. Whatever it is, but focus only on the child, because the child's time, especially if it's a child with special needs, it's very, very, very valuable, because every day, every minute is important as to what you will do, because that speeds up his coping mechanisms he can bring into his life to cope up with that. Special needs is just my need. I'm not a misfit into the society. I need to be given the aids with which I can fit into the society, into my own society that I can carve out of it, right? So I request all parents to remove this school craziness. Just look at the child and then meet schools. Go to the school, be open. Principals like sir will tell, I can do this or I can't do this. Yeah, there are schools which will encash on you because you're somebody who's in need, you're dying to be in my school, I can charge you an extra fee and I can have your child. So what are you getting out of there, right? Your child is wasting time. So please remember this fact. And then there are many professionals in the city who outside of schools are doing a fantastic job. If I am a mother of a special needs child, I will always ensure that my child gets what he needs and it doesn't matter where, right? Yes, inclusion is required. We need exposure to other children. I understand all this. It can be got in the park. You can have that same exposure in many other classes or whatever it is. So this is from the parent side. From the school side, please be very truthful, be very open. If you are funded, if you have money, set up these special units that you can have where children can be integrated, included in whichever way that they require, set up teams. This may not fetch you money, but this will surely fetch you some kind of good karma, if not anything, that you are inclusive enough. People like us, I cannot set up another unit. I'm self-funded, right? So in Orinco, we can take care of pure dyslexics because that's where I specialize, high IQ and dyslexia. We can take care of children with slight learning difficulties, but ADHD or attention deficits where the child can be distracted by the environment doesn't work because we have no walls. We're like an open playground. So that is something we can't take care. Autism also, we've seen that the whole learning in Orinco is about 90% abstract. And that needs to be 90% concrete for autism. But having said that, that's Orinco. But this is Chetna Keni. And I have always and forever been working with children with special needs and their parents for a long, long time in the country. And my suggestion to parents is think of the child, find the professionals, bridge that gap. If there's a school that fits in, take it. Otherwise, it's okay.
Finding the right space for the child is what is more important, is what I'm hearing you saying, Chetna. Okay, we are running out of time, and of course, this is a vast topic. I would have loved to speak to both of you because you've got so much that you can offer to us and share with us. Yet, I do think that we have sparked off at least a few thoughts in the mind of parents that they can think about. And as Chetna was saying, choose the right space for your child. Make an informed choice. I would now like to hand it over to Manoj to wind up this session, and hopefully we'll have more sessions in the future with the both of you. Thank you.
Thank
Over
you.
to you.
Thank you, Sandhya. A big thanks to Mr. Venkat and Chetna, two good friends of Bangalore Schools Group as well as the community. And what a brilliant idea that we have sparked off in the first discussion itself. The whole idea of collaboration. The world is moving away from competition, and especially in a I wouldn't call it an industry, an ecosystem like education, wherein the whole objective is to help children become better citizens. I don't think we should compete at all. We should all collaborate, find out ways where we can collaborate. And Bangalore Schools is committed to creating that collaboration between schools. This is one of the ideas that we had. We are open to more ideas coming up, and this wouldn't have happened without the collaboration of both Venkat and Chetana coming together and discussing with us. Thank you, Sandhya, for the wonderful moderation. And thank you, all parents, all educators, everybody who has been listening here, as well as in the Bangalore Schools page and as well as in the group. This will be available as a video in the group. It will also be there in YouTube channel for them to watch it later on. So once again, from Sandhya, Shweta, and myself, and the whole 50,000 member Bangalore Schools community. Thank you, Mr. Venkat, and thank you, Dr. Chetra, for being here. Thank you so much, and see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think you guys rock. You're doing something totally out of your own passion to help people, and you'll go a long way. And I'm always here for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Chetna has been one of with us, right? I think from the inception of the group itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Nice
so
meeting you,
much.
Mr. Venkat. It was really nice meeting you.
I should
Being on
feel-
the same panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are winding up the show for today and hope to see you soon in the next event. Thank you so much.
We will. Yeah. See you. Bye.
Bye.